Have you ever felt a profound and terrifying chasm between your own mind and the world around you? Have you ever laid out an argument, a simple chain of cause and effect with such crystalline clarity that it seems impossible to refute, only to be met with blank stares, emotional outbursts, or a stubborn, placid refusal to engage? Have you ever felt the crushing weight of a loneliness so complete that it seems you are a solitary species? A lone traveler who speaks a language no one else has ever learned? Perhaps you have watched the frantic, passionate pursuits of others, their desperate scramble for status, their obsession with fleeting trends, their fierce devotion to trivialities, and felt not a sense of superiority, but a deep, chilling sense of alienation, as if you are the only sober person in a world of ecstatic drunks. You have likely been told in 1,000 subtle and not so subtle ways that this is a flaw within you. You are too analytical, too intense, too serious. You think too much. You are made to feel like a dissonant note in the harmonious symphony of social life, a malfunctioning gear in the smooth, efficient machine of the collective. You have tried to adapt, to mute your own perceptions, to feign interest in the mundane, to smile and nod at conversations that feel like a form of psychic sandpaper, rubbing away at the very essence of your soul. Yet despite your best efforts, the feeling persists, the chasm remains, and you are left with a haunting question: what is wrong with me? But let me offer you a truth that is as liberating as it is terrifying. The problem is not that you are malfunctioning. The problem is that you are functioning with a horrifying degree of clarity in a world that is fundamentally built on illusion. The dissonance you feel is not a sign of your madness, but a sign that you are beginning to awaken in the midst of a profound and universal dream. Arthur Schopenhaue, the great philosopher of pessimism, the unflinching cartographer of human suffering, understood this with a precision that is still, to this day, considered dangerous. He did not just observe this phenomenon, he dissected it, and his conclusion was stark and uncompromising. The truly intelligent individual is not merely an outsider. They are an existential threat. They are a walking, breathing refutation of the comfortable lies that make human society possible. And for this, they will not be celebrated. They will be feared. The collective delirium, the world as will and illusion. To understand the terror you inspire, you must first understand the nature of the world that you inhabit. Schopenhauer posited a radical and deeply unsettling vision of reality. Beneath the surface of the world we see, the world of objects, rules, and reason, which he called the world as representation, there is a single, blind, insatiable, and utterly irrational force. He called it the will, or the will to live. This will is not a conscious God. It is a mindless, ceaseless striving, a raw, primal energy that animates every rock, every plant, every animal, and every human being. It is the frantic hunger in the wolf, the relentless growth of the weed, and the desperate, irrational ambition in the heart of man. The vast majority of humanity, Schopenhauer argued, are nothing more than helpless puppets of this will. Their intellect, their reason, their entire conscious mind is not a tool for seeking truth, but a sophisticated instrument developed for a single purpose: to serve the selfish, striving demands of their individual will. They seek money, power, sex, and status, not because these things are rationally desirable, but because the will within them screams for more life, more dominance, more perpetuation. Their world of representation is a carefully curated illusion, a set of beliefs, conventions, and distractions designed to make this brutal, meaningless striving feel purposeful and significant. Society, then, is a collective conspiracy against the truth. It is a fragile agreement among the prisoners of the will to pretend that their prison is, in fact, a palace. It is a shared delirium, a set of intricate rules for a game that distracts them from the horrifying reality of their condition. that they are driven by a force they do not understand towards goals that will never satisfy them, in a life that is fundamentally characterized by suffering. Because for Schopenhauer, suffering is not an anomaly, it is the default state. Life is an endless oscillation between the pain of wanting and the crushing boredom that follows a fleeting moment of attainment. Into this world, you are born, but something in you is different, the balance is off. In the average person, the intellect is perfectly calibrated to serve the will. In you, there is a surplus. Your intellect is too powerful, too luminous. It begins to detach from its master, the will, and starts to do something it was never designed for. It starts to simply observe. It begins to see the world not as a field of objects to be used for your own striving, but as it is. You begin to see the strings on the puppets. You see the mindless striving in your boss, the desperate fear behind a colleague's arrogance, the hollowness of the rituals that everyone else finds so comforting. You are not merely thinking differently, you are perceiving differently. You are a lucid dreamer in a world of sleepwalkers, and your very lucidity is a threat to the integrity of the shared dream. When you speak a simple truth, you are not just offering an opinion. You are shaking the dreamer next to you, whispering, "Wake up. This isn't real." And there is nothing more terrifying to a dreamer than the prospect of waking up. The crime of clarity. Why truth is unforgivable. The fear you inspire is not personal, it is systemic. Society is a fragile house of cards, built on unspoken agreements and convenient fictions. Its stability depends on its members not looking too closely at the foundations. Small talk, for instance, is not a meaningless ritual. It is a vital social anesthetic. It is a carefully choreographed dance of non-information that allows people to interact without the risk of confronting a single, jagged truth. It reaffirms the shared illusion. When you try to inject a real idea, a genuine question, a moment of authentic depth into this ritual, you are not being interesting. You are committing a social crime. You are holding up a mirror in a room full of people who have spent their lives learning to avoid their own reflections. The average person, enslaved by their will, navigates the world through emotion, instinct, and ingrained social dogma. Their beliefs are not conclusions reached through a process of impartial reasoning. They are fortifications built to protect their ego and serve their desires. When you present a logical argument that threatens one of these beliefs, they do not hear a proposition to be considered. They hear a declaration of war. You are not attacking their idea. You are attacking them, their identity, their place in the tribe. Their response will therefore not be logical. It will be primal. They will attack you with ad hominems. They will deflect with emotional appeals. They will shut down with a stubborn refusal to listen. They are not fighting your logic. They are fighting for their own psychological survival. Schopenhauer was clear. The truth has no inherent power in the social world. The world is not governed by reason, but by the will. Therefore, the person who dedicates themselves to truth is choosing a path of permanent exile. You are feared because your clarity reveals the absurdity of the collective. You are the child in the story of the emperor's new clothes. While everyone else praises the magnificent robes of societal convention, you are the one who cannot help but state the obvious, but the emperor is naked. And the crowd does not turn to the emperor with dawning realization. It turns to the child with fury, because the child has threatened to unravel the single most important thing that holds their world together, the lie. Think of the workplace. The most successful and celebrated individuals are often not the most intelligent, but the most attuned to the irrational currents of the corporate will. They master the art of politics, of flattery, of aligning themselves with the dominant narrative. They are talented, yes, but their talent serves the system. The truly intelligent individual, meanwhile, cannot help but see the inefficiencies, the logical fallacies in a bad strategy, the ego-driven decisions of their superiors. When they point these things out, no matter how politely, they are not seen as helpful. They are seen as disruptive, negative, and not a team player. They have committed the unforgivable sin of holding up the mirror of truth to the face of power. And power, being a direct manifestation of the raw will, has no interest in truth, only in its own expansion. The two kinds of mind, the archer and the seer. To deepen this understanding, we must grasp Schopenhauer's crucial distinction between talent and genius. This is not a matter of degree, it is a difference in kind, a fundamental schism in the nature of consciousness itself. The person of talent is the master archer who can hit a target that no one else can hit. They are praised, celebrated, and richly rewarded by society. The talented surgeon, the brilliant lawyer, the shrewd businessman, these are the heroes of the collective. Why? Because their talent operates within the rules of the game. They are exceptionally good at serving the will. They achieve the goals that society already values: health, wealth, victory. They are the ultimate problem solvers, the perfect servants of the system. The person of genius, however, is a different creature entirely. The genius, Schopenhauer says, is the one who hits a target that no one else can see. Their intellect is not merely a sharper tool for achieving the will's goals. It is a searchlight that illuminates the entire landscape, revealing the game itself to be a meaningless charade. The genius possesses such a surplus of cognitive power that their intellect becomes detached from their own will and can perceive the world objectively as a pure representation. They are not players in the game, they are spectators who see the whole board. This is the source of your alienation. You may not be a world historical genius like Plato or Kant, but you possess a measure of this same quality. You see the unseen targets. You see the hidden assumptions behind a social custom, the long-term consequences of a short-sighted decision, the psychological motivations lurking beneath a political slogan. And when you speak of these things, the talented archers of the world look at you with incomprehension and suspicion. They are focused on their target, the one everyone agrees is important. You are pointing into an empty space, talking about patterns and forces they cannot perceive. To them, you are not insightful, you are insane. This is why society can tolerate and even celebrate a certain kind of intelligence, the intelligence of the specialist, the technician, the problem solver. This is domesticated intelligence, intelligence on a leash, put in service of the collective will. But the free, objective, truth-seeking intelligence, the intelligence that asks why instead of how, this is wild intelligence. And society has always feared the wild. It cannot be controlled, it does not serve the agenda, and its very existence reminds the domesticated of the wilderness of truth they have abandoned. You are feared not because you are smart, but because you are free, and your freedom is a silent judgment on their servitude, the inevitable exile, the sanctuary of solitude. What is the consequence of this profound mismatch? Inevitable and unrelenting exile. For Schopenhauer, this is not a tragedy to be lamented, but a fundamental law of nature to be understood. The person of great intelligence is, by their very essence, an antisocial being. This is not a choice, but a fate. Social interaction, for the majority of people, is a comforting affair. It is a reaffirmation of the shared dream, a gentle balm for the anxieties of the individual will. For you, it is often a source of acute suffering. It is an act of profound intellectual compromise. It requires you to shrink your own mind, to pretend not to see what you see, to engage with a level of discourse that is physically painful. Schopenhauer compares it to a person with excellent hearing being forced to listen to a terrible orchestra playing out of tune. It is a constant friction, a grating of your very soul against the coarse stone of the mundane. He famously stated that a person can be sociable only to the extent that they are intellectually mediocre. The more you have within yourself, the less you will seek from others. Socializing is, for most, a distraction from the terrifying emptiness of their own being. For you, it is a distraction from the rich, complex, and infinitely fascinating world that exists within your own mind. This is why you feel so drained after social events that seem to energize others. They have been refueled by the shared energy of the collective will. You have been depleted by the effort of containing your own consciousness within the narrow confines of their reality. Therefore, solitude is not your punishment, it is your sanctuary. It's not a sign of your failure to connect. It is the necessary condition for the preservation of your sanity and the flourishing of your mind. Society will label this as arrogance, as misanthropy, as a sign that you think you are better than everyone else. This is a projection of their own insecurity. They cannot comprehend a person who does not need the herd for their sense of self, because for them, the herd is all there is. In solitude, you are finally free. You are free from the tyranny of the trivial, free from the psychic assault of illogical thought, free from the exhausting performance of the persona. It is only in solitude that you can converse with the only peers you will ever truly have. The great minds of history, speaking to you across the centuries through their books, their art, their music. It is only in solitude that your own thoughts have the space to unfold, to connect, to blossom into genuine insight. You must learn to reframe your exile. You have not been cast out, you have been liberated. You are not lonely. You are in the best possible company. The burden of vision, from contempt to compassion. This journey, however, holds one final profound turn. If left unchecked, the pain of this alienation can curdle into a bitter, contemptuous misanthropy. You can begin to despise the sleepwalkers, to mock their delusions, to wrap yourself in a cloak of intellectual superiority. This is a tempting trap, but it is the final prison of the ego. It is the last trick the will plays to keep you suffering. Schopenhauer's ultimate ethical conclusion was not contempt, but compassion, Mitleid. The person of genius, because they can see beyond their own will, is the only one capable of true morality. When you look at the people around you, you no longer see malicious agents plotting to annoy you. You see fellow sufferers, fellow prisoners of the same blind, striving will that causes all the misery in the world. You see that their irrationality, their aggression, their obsession with the trivial, these are not their faults. They are their symptoms. They are the thrashings of a creature caught in a trap it cannot perceive. Your clarity then becomes not just a tool for your own liberation, but a source of profound empathy. You see the fear behind their anger, the desperation behind their greed, the loneliness behind their frantic socializing. You see that their hostility towards you is not about you at all. It is the panicked reaction of a caged animal when you illuminate the bars of its cage. This perspective does not make the interactions less painful, but it removes the venom of personal insult. It transforms your anger into a deep, abiding sorrow. This is the burden and the nobility of your path, to see the world in all its horror, its meaninglessness, and its suffering, and to respond not with hatred, but with a universal compassion for all beings caught in the relentless grinding gears of the will. You are no longer just an outsider looking in with contempt. You are a witness, bearing the heavy burden of a truth that is too terrible for most to bear. Your isolation is the price of that vision, and your compassion is the only true meaning you will ever find within it. So, the next time you feel that chasm opening up, the next time you are met with that blank stare of incomprehension, do not ask, "What is wrong with me?" Understand that you are standing on the other side of a veil. The fear you inspire is the natural instinctive terror that the dreamer feels in the presence of the one who is awake. This is not a path you have chosen. It is a fate you have been given. Your task is not to find a way back into the dream, but to learn to navigate the stark, beautiful and lonely landscape of the waking world. Embrace your clarity, fortify yourself in your solitude, and let the terrible weight of your vision be lightened by the grace of your compassion. You are not a flaw in the system. You are a glimpse of the truth. And the truth, to a world built on lies, will always be the most terrifying thing of all.